Okay, we're in Ephesians chapter 6, looking at verses 10 through 18. The first question is, according to Paul, why should we put on the whole armor of God? And this is in verse 11. He says, put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So the reason we should put it on is that we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. The second question is, looking at the armor itself, how do you think it helps us with this? How does the armor help us stand against the wiles of the devil? Well, of course, any armor is designed to counteract the weapons of the enemy. The armor is designed with a knowledge of the weapons of the enemy. And this armor particularly says it's just to guard us against, that we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, our primary and chief enemy. This enemy, from the Old to the New Testament, is described as the father of lies. That's what Jesus calls him in John chapter 8. In Genesis 3, the first time we find him in the Bible, he beguiles Eve or deceives Eve. And even in the end of the Bible, in Revelation 12, he's described as the old serpent, I'll call the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. This is the primary wile, the primary weapon of the evil one, of Satan, is his ability to deceive. It's through deception that he's able to draw us away from God. It's through deception that he's able to ensnare us, and it's through deception that he is able to destroy. And so the armor of God is designed to combat this power primarily. And you can see this very directly in the first element of the armor. This is in verse 14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. And of course, the loins being girt about, this belt will be the thing that holds all the other armor in place. And it's truth that the Bible is saying here that holds all of the other armor in place. I won't take too much time with the other elements of the armor, just to emphasize this point, that the weapon that Satan uses primarily is his ability to deceive. And truth then is what we need if we are to stand against his wiles. And I want to make a note also that truth is not just doctrinal truth, though it includes that, of course. And sometimes we limit it to just doctrinal truth and forgetting the other truths that are more subtle, the other truths that are often overlooked and not emphasized. But the truths just about God, the truths about who God is to us, what God thinks about us, truths about how God desires to interact with us, truths about how he desires us to interact with others, truths about our self-worth, so we don't think too highly of ourselves, nor do we think too lowly of ourselves. These are the kinds of truths, as well as the doctrinal truths, that we need if we are to stand against the wiles of Satan, because these are the things upon which he desires to deceive us and can draw us away from God and to our destruction. So again, the primary weapon of Satan is his ability to deceive, and the primary element then that we need to protect us against that is this word of truth, is the sword of the Spirit, as it's referred to here later in the passage. God's truth is the greatest weapon against Satan's attacks. The next question is, what do you think verse 12 means? And then the next question, how can this affect our perspective of life, both global and personal? Verse 12 says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And this is going to the root of what's going on. Most of us have struggles with individuals, personal relationships. We have struggle with people, struggle with relatives, loved ones, friends, co-workers. We have struggles and challenges. And what Paul is pointing out here is that we need to look beyond the person, not be distracted by that person and think, oh, they're just getting on my nerve and I need to get even with them, or I need to do something to get away from them so I don't have to deal with this person. Know that it's not the person, it's not the flesh and blood that is the problem. It's these principalities, these powers, it's the spiritual wickedness in high places. It's that same evil one, Satan, who is behind the scenes working on the minds of that individual, working on our mind to bring strife, to bring dissension, to bring challenge and difficulty. And that we shouldn't find fault so much with the person and feel that they are our enemy. No, there's an enemy behind that person working to try and bring it. I've seen this in my own life, that I have sometimes acquaintances, also relatives even, that somehow Satan is trying to bring strife between me and that individual. So I'm trying to get me to disconnect from that individual and just, well, I won't talk to you, I won't interact with you. thinking that I'm just frustrated with that person. But really, the problem is maybe that person has some spiritual benefit that they can impart to me, or the reverse. Maybe I can impart some spiritual benefit to that person. And Satan is using these interpersonal communication challenges or these traits of character to cause division, to separate me from that individual so that I can't benefit from them and they can't benefit from me. But again, if I'm distracted, as I have been too many times, in looking at the person and looking at the flesh and blood, then I will miss the fact that it's something behind the scenes that's working. And so what I need to do, that's the next verse there. Wherefore, or therefore, because of this, take unto you the whole armor. I need to go back, particularly to that armor that we looked at, the importance of truth. What is the true thing going on here? What does the truth say about this interpersonal difficulty here? And going to the other elements of the armor of God, going to these things and relying on these things, I can cut through the deceptions of Satan and be able to come to the best perspective on this. That's personal. Also, the question was global. Of course, we see many challenges in our world. We see physical challenges, we see hunger, we see poverty, we see wars, we see strife between nations, strife between sects of people, even within nations. We see different challenges in the world. And what this verse is also pointing out there is that it's not just man against man. It's also these principalities who are working. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, it doesn't even take a religious person to see that the world is on a crash course and there is a great deal of evil in this world. But again, these things are not of themselves, nor can they be overcome of themselves. Just as it's spiritual wickedness in high places, it's going to take spiritual righteousness in high places. It's going to take the power of the Spirit of God to combat these things. That doesn't excuse us from working by flesh and blood. Doesn't excuse us from doing what is within our power to improve the quality of life here. Jesus did that as well. He did heal people. That's the flesh and blood part of it. He did ask his followers also to clothe the naked, to help the sick, to feed the hungry. That is the flesh and blood part of it. We do have to do that. But also we need to work with the spiritual aspect, which Jesus also did. And we need to work with the Spirit of God, with the angels of God, working to bring about the kingdom of God on this earth, that we may combat this spiritual wickedness in high places.